that can be mistaken for sciatica. So, what are the conditions which are similar to sciatica, and you can think that you have a nerve pain or a sciatic nerve pain, but it's actually something else. So, let's start with the topic for today, and that is it really sciatica? Common conditions mistaken for sciatica explained. Now, as an executive mom juggling a high stress job, you may be familiar with back, neck, and nerve pain. But when you start experiencing this sharp shooting pain or a nerve pain down in your leg or a pain down your leg, really, you may think that you are suffering from sciatica. However, not all lower back or your leg pain or bottom pain is actually caused by sciatica, and there are many other conditions that can mimic the pain of sciatica. So, in this video, let's discuss some of these common conditions. And of course, there are many more than what I'm going to talk about here, but these are the very common ones. And once you know what your cause of problem is, of course, you can manage it better. And of course, it's also for the mental peace of knowing what's happening, right? So, for those of you who don't know me, let me first introduce myself. My name is Swati. I'm an executive mom power coach. I help moms of younger kids who work in high stress executive jobs to manage their spinal, that is back and neck, and nerve pain despite low energy levels and brain fog or lack of focus and concentration. Now, I do this by giving you simple exercises, some easy lifestyle modifications, some tips and tricks that have helped me in my own pain and adrenal fatigue journey. Adrenal fatigue being the lack of energy and brain fog. And of course, it's got many more layers to it, but these are the two main ones. So, of course, let's dig into the topic for today because I'm sure you're busy like me, as moms are always busy. I don't want to take up too much of your time. So let's get into the topic for today. Is it really sciatica? And common conditions mistaken for sciatica explained. So, what conditions can be mistaken for sciatica? So, before we get into the condition, let me just very quickly touch upon what is sciatica. So, sciatica is a common condition that is characterized by pain radiating from your lower back down into your bottom and legs and sometimes all the way down to your feet. It is caused by the compression or irritation of the sciatic nerve. That is the longest and thickest nerve in our body. And the nerve starts at the level of the lumbar spine and it runs, as I said, down the bottom legs and back of the legs, that's your hamstrings, the calf muscles, and into your feet and your toes. So, let's look at some of the conditions. Actually, I'm going to look at two conditions that can mimic sciatica. So let's explain these further. The very first one is piriformis syndrome. Now, piriformis basically is a muscle that is sitting on your outer side of your bottom or your buttock. And when this muscle, it is a very deep muscle in the bottom, it becomes tight or inflamed for any reason, it can compress the sciatic nerve that actually travels through. And well, textbooks say that sciatic nerve travels under the piriformis muscle, but the sciatic nerve can actually be passing through or in close proximity to the piriformis muscle. So when your piriformis muscle is in a tight state, and suppose there's a nerve passing through, of course, that nerve is going to get pinched or irritated, or even if there's some kind of inflammation in the nerve because of that muscle tightness, that can lead to compression of the sciatic nerve, that can lead to sciatica like symptoms. And the problem here is not really in the sciatic nerve. The problem here is with your tightness in the piriformis muscle, which is known as a piriformis syndrome. Now, you may say that, of course, you're getting an irritation of the sciatic nerve, and this is sciatica. Well, I agree with you, but sciatica is actually not a condition in itself. It is actually a symptom where the nerve is getting irritated. But what is the root cause for it is the piriformis syndrome here. So it's a bit of a overlap area. But if your doctor is talking about piriformis syndrome, or your healthcare professional is referring to your pain as piriformis syndrome, but you are getting sciatica like symptoms, you need to know how and why are they both related. So I hope this is a good explanation and a simple one for that. Now, usually piriformis syndrome is more likely to worsen with prolonged sitting, running, or stair climbing, and it can improve with focused stretches of the piriformis and, of course, the involved area and lying down. Now, if you're not sure and you want to learn more about piriformis syndrome and sciatica, you can go to my YouTube channel. I've done a couple of videos on these and quite a few videos on sciatica. And or you can just go to YouTube and search my name, Swati Prakash Sciatica or piriformis, and these will come up for you. All right, so moving on. The next one is your sacroiliac joint dysfunction. Now, that's quite a mouthful, but basically, let me break that down for you. So, sacroiliac joints are present in the lower part of your lumbar. Well, they're at the lowest part of your lumbar spine, really, just above your bottom area. So if this is the spine in the middle, the SI joints sit on the either side, left and right. So you've got two SI joints in your body. So these are where the pelvic bone is attached to the spine. So the sacrum is attached to the iliac bone. But anyway, you don't need to get into the details of that. Basically, just remember they're on either side of your lower back. And if you have had a pregnancy, because, well, I'm assuming they're mostly moms who are watching this video. So if you have had a pregnancy where you had a lot of lower back pain, it could have been the SI joint that was the culprit there, because that's very common that because of the pregnancy, when you have that relaxin hormone coming through. So just one second, somebody's calling me. So when you have the relaxin hormone and all the joints sort of tend to open up, or tend to sort of stretch out a little bit in the pelvic to accommodate that growing baby, most moms, pregnant moms, would get some SI joint dysfunction, or at least a little bit of discomfort. So this is the SI joint. Now, dysfunction in this SI joint can radiate to your lower back. So, sorry, I had some connection issues. So I'll just repeat my last sentence. So if you have pain or dysfunction in your SI joint or your sacroiliac joint, it can radiate into your lower back, into your hip, and into your legs. So it's very similar to sciatica. So it's easy to mistake it for sciatica. However, SI joint pain typically stays above the knee, and sciatica can go all the way down into your toes. Not necessarily, but usually it does. And of course, SIJ pain is usually linked with certain movements such as standing or sitting. And a very typical one is a high step. So if you are taking a step, not the usual one, but a higher step, like you're skipping one step and going to the next one, as in the stairs, when you're climbing stairs, that is typically an aggravating factor for your SI joint pain. Anyway, so there are lots of hip, actually there's one more that I'll address now. There are quite a few hip pathologies, like if you have tear in the labrum, that is the one of the structures in your hip joint, or you have hip arthritis, that can also give rise to radiating pain that can mimic sciatica or feel like a sciatica. The pain feels as if it's originating in your lower back, but the primary source is actually your hip joint, and that's why sometimes it's misdiagnosed, or you might think you have a sciatica, whereas you have a hip joint issue. Alrighty, so in conclusion, while sciatica is quite common for back and leg pain, it's not always the case. So it can be a few other conditions. Of course, there are many more, as I mentioned earlier. And these three are the common ones. All right, now, if you want to learn more on this topic, I have written a blog on what conditions can be mistaken for sciatica. I'll leave a link in the description of this video. And if you're watching me on Instagram, you can find it in my bio. And if you can't find the link, you can always message me and I'll send it across to you. In that blog, you also have free guide on what is the cause of your back, not the back pain. In this one, there's a guide to how can you manage your nerve pain, and of course it also addresses your sciatica pain. So it's a good one. It has helped people out in the past, so have a look at that. And then there is a video that talks more about sciatica. So how do you know that you have sciatica? This is what are the conditions that mimic sciatica, but how do you know if you have sciatica? So what are the 3 typical signs of sciatica? That video is also in the blog. So have a look at those, and let me know if you have any questions. I will be happy to help you out. Alrighty, I'll see you guys next.